given that I haven't like really experienced to the full extent Elden Ring, and I've kind of been tempted to like try that cooperative mod that you can get on PC, this does a lot for me. I'm trying to kind of rally the troops and get a squad together, I think, when this comes out to give this a go together. James, maybe I can recruit you. Would you be eager to play some of this Elden Ring?
I was going to say, my phone hasn't rang.
For me?
My phone hasn't rang.
Okay, Brody, you're in.
No,
awesome.
I'm shit. You know what, mate?
Oh.
I don't know if you really have to like match with your skill level with these kinds of games. So like if you haven't played it much.
Hang on, what are you saying I'm out because I'm not going to have the skill to keep up with you? Adventure calls as Indiana Jones travel the world and discover ancient secrets. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is out now on Xbox Series X and S, Game Pass, and PC. Rated M. Hello and welcome to the Press Start podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ewan, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts, Shannon.
Hello.
James.
Hello.
And Brody.
Hello.
Today, we're going to be talking about all the winners and all the announcements from the Game Awards 2024. It was a pretty action-packed day, and we're recording in the morning, which feels very unfamiliar to us all as well, because it was just, we couldn't get to the record straight after the show, but it's given us a little bit of time to digest everything, all the winners and the announcements, rewatch all the trailers, and we're ready to talk about it now. Shannon, first to you though, super top level, how did you rate the ceremony / show as a whole? Before we get into all the announcements, before we get into the winners, how'd you rate the show?
I thought it was one of the better ones. It was long, which you always expect it to be long, and I feel like because it's in the middle of the day for us, that's kind of fine. But I think in terms of pacing and just sort of the amount of time given to everything, it was a lot better than it has been. There was like one part in the middle, or like 2/3 of the way through, when it got to the like Honkai Star Rail portion of the show that it was about 10-15 minutes of let's keep this going. But I thought it was a good show.
Yeah, I feel like there was still a bit of a lull in the middle. Granted, I was a bit distracted because I was working at the time and out for lunch for a portion of it too. I went for lunch and then back and the show was still going. But I felt like there was a bit of a lull in the middle, which I guess we kind of expect because they front end the show and then finish off strong.
Yeah.
What about yourself, James? Did you get a thrill out of it?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I watched it again last night, like without covering it, and I think it definitely, from where like Onimusha got announced to like, I feel like just before Okami, like there was a big chunk of online MMO / gacha games, and like I get that we're not the audience for that, and there obviously isn't the audience because they make so much money, and they obviously pay a lot of money to be there because they're there every year. But I would love that because like I got to the point where like I was like I've kind of forgotten what's been announced because there's just so much of like these like I don't know what word to use that doesn't sound dismissive, but like it's just not like not my kind of game. So yeah, but still pretty good. Like I think overall it was pretty good.
Brody, you couldn't watch it live. You had to catch up on it afterwards. How do you think it compared to previous years?
Well, I had the good fortune of being able to fast forward through things that didn't interest me, so I probably got through it in a swift 2.5 hours maybe. So, look, I think it was good. Like, I think it was a nice, obviously, celebration of the TGAs, which have now been around for 10 years. I still don't love how they do the Emmys thing, and they, rattle through like 10 awards at a time and just like dismiss them effectively offhand. But it sort of is what it is. But then sort of spend a weird amount of time on, while it was good, like that TGA Game Changer thing, which was a bit strange. And Jeff cried no less than 2 times, I think, or teared up at least. So there was
choked up.
The emotions were high.
It was
in
the 10th
room.
anniversary, I guess.
The
I
emotions
felt
were
like
high.
he was appreciating the significance of it.
Yeah, and look,
You think they could do like a WWE type thing where like an hour before is like the awards, where they actually give people the time to like go through like maybe all but 2 or 3 of them? I don't know.
yeah,
It
like
just
dedicate
feels
the
like...
pre-show to that rather than other game announcements that don't make.
But then I guess then that's like treating it as not the main event. But at least that would give it the time
And
to go
they
through.
already do. Like the pre-show, they cover off a fair few awards already. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's unfortunate given it's like the Game Awards,
I
how
know,
little focus
but
there seems to be on the
there
actual
wouldn't be like
awards
8
element
million
of it,
people
but
watching without the reveals. Like,
No.
as much as we want to.
yeah, you can't. I don't think you can have everything, and I think they have gotten better over the years at getting the balance right, and I think it was pretty close to right this time around. Yeah. I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know how you add more fanfare to the awards without kind of dragging out the time more. Yeah, I felt like they gave the speakers enough sort of time this time around, though. It
Yeah.
didn't feel like anyone
They
was
weren't
kind of
getting kicked
unfairly
off
cut
stage.
short.
Yeah.
Which was obviously a big point of feedback in previous years. All right, let's get into the winners then. Astrobot was the big winner of the day, taking home the coveted Game of the Year, but Best Game Direction and Best Action Adventure Game and Best Family Game as well. Metaphor ReFantazio threatened to sweep, taking Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, and Best RPG. And Balatro, another favorite, dominated the indie categories, taking Best Independent Game, Best Debut Indie Game, and Best Mobile Game. Other winners included Helldivers for Best Ongoing Game and Best Multiplayer Game. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth got Best Score and Music, and Senua's Hellblade 2 for Best Audio Design and Best Performance for Melina Jurgens as well. So yeah, a stacks of winners. More repeat winners than I thought, kind of given the year that it was. But James, of some of those I mentioned and some of the other winners out there too, did you think kind of who deserved to win did win?
No.
I don't think anyone doesn't. No, I don't think anyone doesn't deserve not to win. But I do think, I don't know, I would have liked Silent Hill to get some kind of recognition. Like, I think that is a very, very good game. I think they were up against very high odds, and they still came out on top. So
Yeah, I feel like the
even
timing of the release for Silent Hill probably worked against it.
Potentially, yeah, for sure. Like I forgot Hellblade came out, to be fair. But that is, yeah, I really wish Silent Hill got the performance there. But I'm also happy like Melina got, like, I don't think she got recognized for the first game. Like, I think she might have got nominated, but I don't think she won from. Oh, she did for like last game.
For the first game.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, then in that case. No, just Silent Hill.
Actually, take a seat.
Yeah. She can just give you a award back. No, yeah, literally. No, but
we'll cut that.
Genuinely, yeah. I think like everything was good. I think Metaphor was probably my top game this year. I think when all was said and done. So, yeah, like I'm pretty happy to see that get the buzz. And then obviously Astrobot also really enjoyed. So, yeah, I think it's not. I don't think it's bad at all. So, I think everything was quite good.
I was Look, I was very pleased that Astrobot did as well as it did, but I must admit it did catch me a surprise. Probably most for the action-adventure game category. I thought it sort of had a good chance and everything else, but that one...
That was just a weird
surprised
category.
me.
Like, that was the one that I think James and I both said. Like, it was just a very odd category when you look at the games in it. It needs a reworking, I think.
Yeah, I was really hoping Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown was gonna come out there. I just felt like that game deserved more recognition. I mean, it got innovation and accessibility, which I think is a very worthwhile win. But yeah, I just feel like that's such a quality game that's kind of been a little overlooked this year. But yeah, Astrobot I obviously loved. So, and it was probably number 2 in my mind to Prince of Persia this year. So I'm very pleased that that's done as well as it has. Brody, what did you make of the winners?
Yeah, I was pretty pleased across the board. I don't think I could be really upset with any of them. Glad that the gamers had their voice heard, and Black Myth got its gong. So happy for them, all the gamers out there. Yeah, best action game for that too, obviously. Yeah, I don't think there was a lot of surprises. I think we probably, had we thought about it, we probably could have picked a lot of these. Like I think while we might have even said while I thought I wanted Metaphor to win, we probably all thought it could be Astrobot or Elden Ring. Surprised Elden Ring didn't get any. So, but hey, they'll be back next year, nominated again, I'm sure. Yeah, look, I was happy with. Obviously Metaphor getting a lot of awards in its own right. Balatro sweeping the indie categories, like you said. Although I would have liked maybe. No, look, I don't think I can actually disagree with it, so that's fine. Helldivers, it not getting lost in the recency bias, I think that's nice.
I was stoked by that. Ongoing and multiplayer, and I think it was so great to get additional content announced for that during the course of the ceremony as well.
And I think I was happy with my baby boy Never getting games for Impact.
Yep.
Like, I still don't know what that means or why any of the games are nominated for it, but look, it's still nice.
It's about like
I know what it is,
putting
but
out a positive message or something, isn't it? Like,
I guess.
But the games...
I haven't played enough of the games, that's the issue. So I'm like, what's the
I know...
What's the positive
I know what
message
you
in
mean.
Indica? Like, isn't that game, like, quite bleak?
Yeah. It's not... Like, I would have never... I loved Indica, but I would never have put it in games for
I
Impact,
assume it's
but-
like the game that has a hard-hitting... Like, it's,
yeah.
But
Like,
you
it's
could
kind
say
of
that
something
like
thematically.
most games try and do that. So like
This
it's
was
a
the
hard
first year where I saw the games nominated for that, and I was like, oh, like, do you know what? Like, I feel like
We've strayed
it
from the
normally
light.
is, like, it's just like backfilling the category almost, but
Okay.
but
one. Oh,
Congratulations to
But
Never,
it's
though.
yeah, I haven't played Never yet. It's on my list. Like, I think I have it downloaded. But
Yeah, it's on mine as well. Since you mentioned Shadow the Erdtree, I was going to say I also love the inclusion of Statler and Waldorf, like the two old men Muppet characters, is kind of like a foil to Jeff and just kind of like hanging shit on him in the show throughout the entirety of it. I thought it was great. And yeah, they threw some funny barbs, kind of the way of Elden Ring, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah, nice. We got through the awards a lot quicker than I thought we did, but we would. But I guess that's the nature of the show.
I was just happy that I really didn't want Shadow of the Erdtree to win Game of the Year, to be honest, just because I felt like there was some weirdness there around how that kind of unfolded. But
yeah, I guess it
you
didn't
think-
open a can of worms there, which is pleasing.
Do you think that maybe people saw the backlash to it and then all of a sudden decided not to vote for it?
I just don't really understand. Again, it's hard because we're not supposed to talk too much about the process, but like I don't really understand how enough people thought to vote for it to begin with. But maybe, it did make them think about, we don't want to go down this path, as it opens up a really big can of worms about what could be eligible. So I don't know.
I like, my favorite part was when, and we'll probably get to it, but when they announced, was it Nightrain? He's like, a brand new standalone game. So he's like, we're right to nominate this next year.
Yeah, I did think that was funny as well. I also love like just the way they spoke about Astrobot as well, particularly around when they won Game of the Year, kind of like giving flowers to everything that's kind of come before and served inspiration for that game as well. And it just like what a time for 3D platformers too. I think it's fantastic.
I will say, like, I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times, and like it's at Summer Game Fest, had the chance to play Astrobot with him, and just like there's so much passion there. Not that every developer isn't passionate about their games, but like you could just tell in how he played it and sort of spoke about it that like that the little team there in Japan sort of love what they do. And like even then he was speaking about like Nintendo and wasn't shy to say like how heavily inspired it was by other platformers. Which is cool to see.
Yeah, fantastic. Shout out to Fallout as well for getting best adaptation. Pretty tough category, I think, this year. Like we're kind of getting some more and more better quality adaptations of video games. But that was
people weren't happy
my
with that.
pick of the bunch. And really, why not?
They won
Oh,
Arcane.
over
They thought
Arcane.
Yeah, they thought Arcane.
Arcane's
I mean,
mega
I
popular,
didn't watch
fair
Arcane. Fallout was good, I think.
on my list.
It's hard to argue with it.
I also love that Ella Purnell was there, but she didn't present anything, right? Unless I missed that.
I don't think she spoke.
No, she was
No.
she was just there for the award.
I think because she was in Arcane as well, right? So she was.
She was in both, yeah.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
I think it would have been nice if she spoke over like Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like-
I did say people say that she went to speak and they cut her off, so I don't know.
Oh, really? Okay. Anyhow, I'm just I'm glad that the Game Awards is at that stage now, where like a celebrity outside
Snoop
of
Dogg,
the industry.
that was a highlight for me. That was like right at the edge of
I
that
forgot about that.
Honkai Star Rail lull, and it just brought me back to life.
Harrison
That was
Ford.
Harrison Ford, I thought
was a
was
big one.
great as well. He was like more on form than I thought he would be.
Well,
bar the one
I don't
moment where he
know.
lost the teleprompter.
Yeah, I
and
was
he was
just
just
gonna
like,
say.
sorry, I don't know what my lines are.
Is there
It's
his
just hurry
train
along a
thought
little bit.
derail in real time?
I
do you
need like
think-
a full-length documentary about how they got him to do that. Like, I need to know.
Money.
Yeah.
They backed the money truck up.
But do you think? I feel like money's not enough to get him to do anything.
He would do
anymore.
anything for money.
Okay.
Harrison loves money.
I don't know. I think he does, but I don't know if he would necessarily do something just because there was a big payback.
I don't think he's passionate about Captain America 4.
No. I think there's like a fine line between is this
Like
enough money
Disney
to
own
get out of
him
bed
at
this
this point.
morning, or
Yeah, Disney are like, look, we'll give you another indie if you do Captain America for us. He's
like, do you
I
think
don't
his
want to
praise
do
of Troy
anything.
Baker was genuine, or was that just scripted?
No, I
into
think
the
so.
teleprompter for him?
Though I'd be surprised if he's seen any of it. Like,
Yeah.
You would
I've been
have
told
to-
it's really good.
You'd
been
have
told
to
it's
watch
great.
that and be pretty impressed. Like, you'd either be impressed or offended. Like, there's no in between, I feel, with
Yeah.
what you're watching. So, you want
Presumably
to
he got
believe it.
paid for the Golden Circle, like for using his likeness.
Great
right?
circle.
Great Circle. Fuck! Why do I keep saying Golden Circle?
Yeah, they would have had to pay him for his face. Like, it's him.
Isn't Golden Circle like a brand of Primas or like juice
Yeah,
boxes?
but juice.
It's juice, isn't it?
That
Okay,
would've been
I
a
think it's
different
well and
game.
truly time to move on to the announcements. Enough Golden Circle juice references. And where to begin with these announcements? I actually haven't really thought through how we handle this because it's just a stack that I probably do want to cover off, but I also want to hear from you, like what stood out to you. Shannon, let's start with you. What announcements jumped out from you? I've got a list there. I'd love to cut them off, but you tell us what stood out to you.
Yeah, I guess I'm just looking at your list because there was a lot there. But Split Fiction was the one that stood out to me. Like, when I did hear about it when it leaked, it's not that I wasn't excited, but I was like, oh, it'd need to do something really cool to get me excited in the way I was about It Takes Two. But it does look like it's going even crazier than it was. And it's soon, so I feel like I can get excited about that.
So Split Fiction, the new game from Hazelight Studios, it's cooperative as It Takes Two was, as... What's the Prison Escape one called again? I'm blanking.
A Way Out.
A Way Out, thank you. It's got the Buddy Pass feature as well, again, but it's like following two writers, right? They write fantasy and science fiction, and they kind of end up in a simulation, and their worlds kind of come to life, and they have to escape it, and you're kind of like flicking between fantasy and sci-fi realities.
Yeah.
Is it something about that particular premise that excites you, do you think, Shannon, or is it more just Hazelight's kind of pedigree at this point in time?
I think just the gameplay mechanics. To be honest, It Takes Two's story was like the one thing I didn't love at the end. I thought it was a bit cliche and didn't really end in any kind of notable way. But so that's probably the one area where I'm like, is this going to do it for me? But just, yeah, the insanity of this, like with the sausages on the barbecue and the pigs and... there's some kind of like dragon thing mechanic that's interwoven throughout the game as well. Like it just feels like it's balls to the wall insanity, which is what I would want at this
I think
point.
Joseph Fares like called out there's going to be like a different mechanic each level.
Yeah.
Which
Which was
I
similar.
feel like
It Takes Two did that, like for the most
Yeah.
part. Yeah.
And that is probably the one thing. I feel like A Way Out was really good because of the way that that story unfolded, and it felt quite grounded. And that's why it did have a different impact to It Takes Two for me. And this feels like it's going further in the It Takes Two direction. So, yeah, the story, like, it sounds fine, and I get that it feels like it was built for the gameplay mechanic and not the actual story element. So, I think it'll be a fun weekend with Brody when we play through it.
It's the regular thing for the two of you and playing those games.
For the Hazelight boys.
I think it's out in March as well, or May. One of the
March,
months.
yeah.
I'll clear our calendar.
Very soon. That's exciting.
The other one not on the list that I was excited for is Turok. Again, like third person. I understand why. And Saber, who, correct me if I'm wrong, I have a kind of mixed
Warhammer.
track record in what they've done. But I think it looked good. I love any game with dinosaurs in it. Shout out to Death Grounds for Brody.
Is that out?
And yeah, I think Turok...
Tell us.
I think it's one, along with Dino Crisis, that people have wanted to see come back for a while. And I think it looks solid. Like, we got gameplay. It looks to be quite far along. So I think there's good reason to be excited about it.
Yeah, Turok is not a franchise I've waded into ever, but I mean, dinosaurs is enough to get me excited always. I should jump into this one when it materializes. I think you were skeptical about Turok though, weren't you, James?
Yeah, it doesn't look like Turok like in any way. Like, it's just a game where you kill dinosaurs, which I guess some people probably argue that is what Turok is. But yeah, I'm still keen to try it. I think the world is cool. It does look like it's paying a lot of tribute to like more so the like failed reboot that came out on PS3 and Xbox 360 a few years ago. But yeah,
it ever had an online? Like, did that have online co-op, or was it co-op
No,
at
it's
all?
never had. Like, I could be wrong about the reboot because I didn't play it that much. I can't even remember most of it. But it was always like kind of single player. They did have back in the day like Turok Rage Wars, which was like it was just multiplayer. But yeah, like I think the idea is cool, and apparently like the idea is you have these suits and you can kind of absorb dinosaur DNA, and that changes the way that your suit behaves and the abilities you have and stuff. So it's definitely a cool angle. Yeah. I liked it. I liked that we saw a lot of gameplay as well with the reveal. So yeah,
we were pretty light on gameplay for other trailers, weren't we? Otherwise, so nice to see some of that.
I think it's quite far away though. And I feel like Saber's also working on Jurassic Park Survival, which I also feel like we haven't seen much of for a long time. So it's a bit odd. But yeah, dinosaurs are back, which is cool.
Otherwise, what stood out to you, James?
Well, my favorite one was probably Onimusha. Just like a Capcom brand that I never thought I'd ever see again. And it looks really good too. Once again, the gameplay like very short, but still looks quite solid. And it is 2 years away. I don't know if that's going to actually happen.
Yeah,
because I just think about like Pragmata. But yeah, Onimusha was definitely like my standout, like far and away, like a genuine surprise for me. Like I wasn't ever see it.
Bring me up to speed with the Onimusha franchise? Because I obviously saw everyone pop off, and I did a bit of digging and like looked at past kind of gameplay of previous games and stuff. And this looks like it could be my jam, but I probably need you to help me come to terms with it.
So like it just like started life as a like Resident Evil game, but set in like feudal Japan. So like they wanted to do like a past Resident Evil, and then like it became like demonic and stuff, and they're like, this is a little bit too far from what it is. So they spun it off into its own series. So it is interesting because like I don't know what an Onimusha game looks like.
I was going to ask you that. Like, do you think it's going to be like open world, or do you think it's going to be?
I think it'll be like I don't think it'll be open world. Like I don't think that really suits it. But it can't really be the fixed camera angle classic Resident Evil either. Like I think it's going to have to be this weird in between. I think it might be semi-open.
What's the sort of gameplay loop for combat? Is it more like a Devil May Cry, or is it more like a... I guess it's probably predates Souls-like by like 20 years.
It's more slow and methodical and parry and stuff. So I would say it's probably an easier version of, say, something like... I don't want to... like. There's nothing really like it, which I think is why it's so exciting.
Ninja Gaiden, maybe?
But like... Not that's too fast. Like it's like a slower, like more. It is like Resident Evil with swords, which probably sounds a bit weird because I don't know if you can like quite imagine that. But the first game's on sale. If you want to go grab it now, like it's very cheap.
Okay, maybe I will. Back. I'm kind of intrigued. And
it's good.
Is it like more kind of around the parrying sort of mechanics? Like it's kind of that more.
The new one looks to be quite like that. This one you can literally just sit there and block and then attack when you want. Like it's quite it's nothing. I don't want to say it's like Dark Souls or Sekiro like too much, like, but
there's like a methodical nature to it in the same sort of way.
But it's also not like if you miss you die. Like it feels quite fair. But yeah, really good action game that I don't think any game has kind of come close to not in terms of even quality, just in terms of design. Like it's very much its own thing, which is why it's so exciting that it's back.
Seeing as you mentioned Dark Souls, Elden Ring there, I want to call out Elden Ring Neightreign. Then you kind of stand alone, as we heard, entry into Elden Ring that kind of pulls some Dark Souls bosses into it too. It looks like a kind of cooperative roguelite, I think it's been described as, and almost like with a battle royale like element. You're kind of dropping into a modified version of Limgrave, I think it is, from Elden Ring, and a zone tightens in, and you're kind of working to fight off bosses, upgrade your levels, that kind of thing, get different gear. Given that I haven't like really experienced to the full extent Elden Ring, and I've kind of been tempted to like try that cooperative mod that you can get on PC, this does a lot for me. I'm trying to kind of rally the troops and get a squad together, I think, when this comes out, to give this a go together. James, maybe I can recruit you. Would you be eager to play some of this Elden Ring?
I was going to say, my phone hasn't rang.
For me?
My phone hasn't rang.
Okay, Brody, you're in.
Nah,
awesome.
I'm shit. Do you know what, mate?
I don't know if yeah. You really have to like match with your skill level with these kinds of games. So like, if you haven't played it much,
Hang on, what are you saying? I'm out because I'm not going to have the skill to keep up with you?
Carry him, James.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rude.
I won't be.
Learn.
Why? We will not be playing to each other. No, I don't know.
We will not be playing.
If you want to play, sure. If you buy it for me, sure. Like,
Yeah, I think it sounds like a really interesting premise, and it feels like a very different game from Software. I like that they kind of pulled from some of their other games as well. And it seems like I love just kind of this trend that's kind of appeared of like, let's take what we have like from an existing game and turn it into a roguelite of some kind. I think it works so well for The Last of Us Part 2 and for God of War Ragnarok as well, particularly God of War Ragnarok, I would say. I'm eager to see what From Soft do with that game. Brody, what about you though? Have you got a game you like to kind of call out as being a standout announcement for you?
I'll call out a few that obviously stood out to me. I'm obviously
Sick.
assuming that we'll take a moment later to talk about the big one, so I won't refer to that.
I'm going to take half an hour to talk about that, Brody. Don't you worry.
Ones that stood out to me were Dispatch. Like, I think that looks really interesting. Like, the banter between Aaron Paul and Laura Bailey was
Okay, can we
strange.
talk about this moment? Because there was some tension there. I felt like, are they about to kiss? What's going on?
Oh shit! No, okay, I don't know. Anyway, I think that looks fun. Like, it's an interesting sort of premise. The cast gets a little weird. Like, you're like Aaron Paul, Laura Bailey, Jacksepticeye, and like, what the fuck? and then like, you've got all these streamers and influencers, and then like Matthew Mercer's down the bottom. I was like, yeah, you'd hate to be Matthew Mercer getting relegated down here, but anyway. So that looks fun. Similar, like, they sort of made it. It's like a management game with like a bit of Wolf Among Us mixed in there, like, so that sounds fun. Mafia: The Old Country looks really cool. I love the Mafia games, and this one obviously looks great. Obviously, I don't think we got a great idea of what the gameplay would be, but obviously it'll be very Mafia adjacent. The one that surprised me the most, I think, would probably be Rematch, like the soccer game, Rocket League soccer game from like the Sifu devs. At first, I was like, oh, but then I was like, actually, you know what? I could fuck with this. So, yeah.
I love how they kind of teased ahead of the show that, like, be ready for a surprise. And everyone's like, oh, you've kind of spoiled the surprise of Sifu 2 here. This sucks. And then,
it's like,
no,
guess what?
we were all no one saw a soccer game coming.
Yeah.
Looks great,
and the other one that sort of looks a bit interesting to me, granted, I've not really ever finished a game by the guy behind, like, Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian and stuff like that, but that Project Robot game looks really cool. Like, it looks really weird. The setting is interesting. Obviously, they maintain some of that gameplay loop where, you know, you're climbing up a big structure to obviously get out of the way of the shockwave thing. Like, so if that's, I guess, part of the premise, like, it just seemed like really interesting and very abstract, which I sort of, after playing like Death Stranding again, like, I just love shit that's weird. So, yeah, that one looked good. But obviously,
pausing on that one for a sec, like, Shannon, what do you make of it? It's from Fumito Ueda, so the creator of Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian. I think it's a new team, though. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but Gen Design, I think, a new team of his.
I think so. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was like Studio Japan before that was making those games, or like in collaboration with Studio Japan.
Yeah, and then prior Team Uko.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we didn't get much. We didn't even get a name, I don't think, or any kind of...
No.
I think it was like Project Robot or something. But it looked very Team Ico in terms of like art style and mood. It looked very Shadow of the Colossus-y. So I think there's good reason to be excited. When we're going to see it or play it, who knows? But the fact that Epic is backing it and it's coming to consoles and PC is really exciting. And like... At the very least, like, they're not always the best games technically, but they all do something totally different to the next and have cool themes around them.
Do you think it threatens to be like another Last Guardian situation where we've seen this now and it doesn't appear for another 10 years?
I think there's less pressure on this, and I feel like they would have learned a lot from the last Guardian situation. So I don't think so. It looks quite different in scope. Again, we don't know a lot about it, but I think we will see it sooner rather than later. I just don't think it's going to be like next week. I think it'll be 18, 24 months. But I hadn't really thought about that team since The Last Guardian, just because that took a decade to make. So it's cool to see that they're still kicking about and keen to make something else. I like it.
And yeah, like I love that. As far as, I mean, I guess things we've typically associated with PlayStation, like there's still this kind of appetite for new IP, and it's always like, granted, like it helps when you've got a big director attached to it.
Yeah.
But I'm excited that people are excited for that. Like there's an appetite for new IPs, and that's just a really pleasing thing to see.
I mean, for me, it's like Studio Japan made some of my favorite PlayStation games, so to see that still kind of is living on in this way is cool.
Yeah. Brody, I interrupted you though. What else stood out to you?
No, that was it. I was done.
Okay.
Granted, knowing that we'll probably talk about a couple of the bigger ones that
You'll
touch
we
on
better
one,
wade
I
into
imagine.
some of these other ones. I think we did a good list of kind of working through my list. Let's chat about The Witcher 4 though. A big reveal, probably like the worst kept secret in the games industry, and I think they'd kind of had essentially confirmed that it was on the way as well. CD Projekt Red. I guess the kind of speculation has long been that Geralt wasn't going to be the next, the main character in the next. I think the voice actor of Geralt kind of came out and said, "Oh yeah, I'm in it, but I'm not the main character," and so it didn't leave much imagination that it would be Ciri and the lead, and that was confirmed in what was like a 5-6 minute kind of cinematic trailer that basically kind of spoiled the whole side quest, I guess, unless it's not in there. But it was very, very Witcher, I felt. It was very, had the sort of level of polish that we typically associate with CD Projekt Red, Cyberpunk's launch notwithstanding. James, what did you make of the trailer, though? What are your excitement levels at for another Witcher game?
Yeah, like, fine. I don't know, like you, when you talk about CD Projekt Red polish, I don't feel like they finish their games at launch personally. Like, I think that their games get better like a few years on. It was the same for The Witcher 3, same for Cyberpunk. So I'm a little bit weary / skeptical, and especially a full cinematic trailer. And it feels like this is very far away. Like, and they were pretty clear about that too. Like, I don't think they said it was close. So I think it's cool that like Ciri is the main character now, presumably. Given the role she has in the books. But yeah, like I've kind of learnt now with CD Projekt Red and Larian, like you play the game later, not at launch, to get the best experience, personally. So, which is like a bit of a Debbie Downer response, but it's just how I feel.
So add
like
an
the
extra
last 2
year
games.
to the kind of 3 or 4 that it's probably going to take.
Yeah, so personally for me, it's at least 5 years away from being like amazing. To their credit, they stick with those games for sure. But it's happened twice in a row now. So
yeah, I just think they show their games very well. And yeah, this was I think
it's
an
an
excellent
incredible
way
debut.
to kind of show this game off.
But, like,
granted, it is just a
that's not the
cinematic.
game.
No.
Yeah. Right.
But they know how to get people excited, I guess, is my point. And yeah, stoked that Ciri is the lead. I think she's a great character. And I haven't, my history with Witcher doesn't extend back beyond The Witcher 3. But I like that they kind of indicating like a new kind of weapon or like a new mechanic with the sort of chain that she's got on her left hand. I don't know if that's kind of appeared at all in the franchise before, but that's new to me, and I'm interested to see kind of what that does for the combat as well. Brody, Shannon, are either of you excited for The Witcher?
Witcher 3 is the game where I played the first, like the opening, like where you fight the griffin and shit, and it took me like 3 or 4 hours to like get to the credit screen, the title screen. I thought, oh, this game might be a bit big for me. So I probably stopped there thinking I might come back, and I never did. So look, I appreciate these games on a technical level, and what they can do with the narrative and how their quests are designed and stuff. But yeah, it's all a bit large for me at the minute. So yeah.
Well, you might have a few years to mentally prepare.
Yeah, maybe my kids won't need quite as much care in a handful of years, and I'll be able to get a few more minutes. But yeah.
I'm the same. I feel like I've started The Witcher 3 like 4 or 5 times on different platforms and just never made it through the first few hours. Yeah, I was chatting to James about this while we were watching, and yeah, I hope it turns out well. I feel like CD Projekt Red have sort of earned the trust back after Cyberpunk 2077, which was in shambles at launch. So I think this is the right time to announce this. I feel like they're in good standing again, and even if it is a few years away, I think it's good to have this on the table that we can get officially excited about it now.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll get a Geralt cameo in there as well, particularly given we did, in fact, revisit the the streamed version of the trailer, and you do hear his voice at the end kind of saying, "See you on the road" or something, which I think very much would confirm that he's in there somewhere. But we'll have to wait and see. All right. Borderlands 4. Did anyone take much of an interest in the Borderlands 4 trailer? It was the first time seeing gameplay. And Fontaine's DC Starburster in the trailer, which I was a big fan of. That was a
I
song.
don't know what any of that means, but I enjoyed I thought it looked good. Like I remember Borderlands 3. I think was one of the first games I reviewed that I got a bit of like flack for in comments.
Yeah.
But I didn't like
was
the
with
writing,
you.
and I don't know if if it continues with that kind of stuff that I found funny when I was 11. I don't know if that's going to be the vibe, but I think from a visual, like artistic standpoint, I think it looks better than Borderlands has ever looked. Like I think it is way more interesting. The new planet is cool. I think it looks really obviously it's a next gen only game, well current gen only now, but yeah, like I'm trepidatious about this one. It's probably the best word to use.
Yeah, I've never really connected with a Borderlands game either, but this does enough different, I think, by the looks of things, that I'm more willing to give it a go. And certainly when it's like in motion, in gameplay, using all the abilities and stuff, it looks great. Like it kind of reminds me of the kind of fast-paced nature of like Doom or something like that, which is always enough to kind of keep my eye out on.
It's not like that at all. Just
sorry?
so you know. It's not like that at all.
No, it's not.
Put your hopes and dreams in a box away.
There's a spectrum there, James, and it's like edging towards that end of the spectrum is the point I'm making. I'm not saying it's one for one the same.
Must be a long spectrum.
Okay. Adventure calls as Indiana Jones travel the world and discover ancient secrets. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is out now on Xbox Series X and S, Game Pass, and PC. Rated M. Well, I've put it off long enough. Let's talk about Intergalactic, the new the Heretic Prophet, the new Naughty Dog IP. The kind of rumor mill spun up in the days before this that we were gonna see it. Still, I didn't quite believe it, but sure enough, it was the kind of final announcement to close out the show. Shannon, starting with you, brand new IP from Naughty Dog. First look at it. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I really liked it. I don't know. I feel like there were lots of wires crossed. I know Brody said this morning that Naughty Dog were rumored to be doing a sci-fi game, but I feel like Sony Santa Monica were as well. So this just isn't what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting anything from Naughty Dog at this stage, to be honest. I didn't feel like they were this far into any kind of project that was new IP or otherwise. So
Yeah, been working on it since 2020, apparently.
yeah, and Neil Druckmann led. The vibe is really cool. Tati Gabrielle, I think that's her name, who I recognize instantly as like the Uncharted villain, and she's in You and a few other things that I've seen. Really great actor, cool look, and I already saw that Troy Baker is in it, but I'm glad that it looks like they're going with other characters for the leads. But yeah, it looked Naughty Dog instantly, but it didn't look like anything that we've seen from them before. So I really like the vibe. I know people are saying we didn't get gameplay, but I was glad we got that little snippet that kind of showed how it might look in motion, and really keen to see more in terms of something new from Naughty Dog.
Yeah, do you think that like brief snippet at the end was kind of in motion gameplay? Like I thought it was about to transition to gameplay, and it ended like so suddenly that I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what to read from that now. But I think it
was. I mean, we were never going to get gameplay, so I don't know what people are really saying with that. But yeah, I think it looked like a little tease of what it could transition to in a gameplay sense. I mean, I feel like it's going to be pretty typical Naughty Dog, right? Like we saw she had a gun, we saw melee, so I feel like it's not going to be too different from like Uncharted to a Naughty Dog in terms of like core action. I'm sure there'll be some different mechanics there, but yeah, I feel like we know what to expect in terms of over the shoulder third person. I can't see them doing anything too different to that, but other people might have other opinions of what they might want to see.
Yeah, because James, I know you've been critical of gameplay in Naughty Dog games in past, but they've kind of... You saying that? I'm fairly sure I remember you critiquing,
he's
particularly
been
the
more
gameplay of
critical
Last
of
of Us
narrative
1.
in The Last of Us, possibly.
I think he just wanted something new from them, so we should be really happy today.
Yeah, I don't
absolutely.
know. They've talked about the gameplay being a big focus of this one, and they want to kind of do more with it than they've ever done in any of the previous games. Does that do much to kind of interest you anymore in the game, where you kind of sold enough as it is?
I mean, I don't like talking about the gameplay and then not showing any I don't. I think it looks good. This is the first time I've watched a trailer for a Naughty Dog game and instantly been there. If that makes sense. I've kind of always been but yeah. The only thing that I did find a bit odd watching it the second time, the product. What's with all the product placement?
Yeah, there's so much. A Porsche spaceship,
the Adidas shoes, the Sony
Sony makes
Sony.
sense. Yeah,
I can live with that, but I don't know. It was a bit odd.
Do you think it's to make it feel like it's a lived-in world? I feel like they've really tried to do that with The Last of Us.
I didn't mind
Part
it. I
2
liked
and-
it. I liked it.
It was odd, like the Adidas zoom in and stuff. There were parts of it that were odd, but I didn't feel
It was
like it killed it.
the second time watching it, but obviously Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross doing the music is really good. I think they were the only good thing about Challenges. Controversial maybe, but they also did the music for Gone Girl. Some of my favorite original scores are all by them, so that really excites me. But yeah, I would have liked to just see more, especially if it has been 4 years. So maybe it was 2 years of pre-production or something. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm keen. I do hope it's something different. I hope it's not just a sci-fi Uncharted or a sci-fi Last of Us. And I really hope there is maybe even more of a melee focus. I think that would be really cool.
yeah.
But yeah, Shannon's right. There was a gun at the beginning, but I'm sure that's what they'll do.
Yeah,
I think it was really good.
I think everything in the trailer to me said this is something very different. I think they're trying to really emphasize that point. Even the brand kind of integrations to it, I suppose, kind of even feels like that too. This is a very different kind of style and tone of game.
Yeah, it's
that being
meant
said,
to be this world that space travel started earlier. I think it's in the 80s, and it's super inspired by Akira. And I think you can see that even when she puts the red jacket on, obviously, that's very Akira. And I think it is going to be a really cool world for sure. I just hope, my one thing I really hope it doesn't do, and I didn't really think about it until the person I was watching it with last night said it. I really hope it doesn't become this 80s music pastiche with quippy Guardians of the Galaxy-esque I hope it still stays pretty I don't want it to be grimdark, but somewhere between grimdark and Guardians of the Galaxy vibe.
Yeah, more Blade Runner than Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
vibes.
yeah.
I think it will. Their blog post, I don't know if you read that, but they kind of said it's still staying true to the emotional kind of storytelling that you know from Naughty Dog. So, and I feel like the use of emotional says to me it's going to stay a little bit more kind of grounded and maybe tug on the heartstrings in places, which I'm interested to see how they adapt that kind of storytelling, very kind of character-led storytelling, into a sci-fi genre. But then, looking back, probably when they announced The Last of Us, and it's it's a post-apocalyptic zombie game, you didn't really expect that to kind of get as emotional as it did. So yeah, I have no doubt that they can do something similar within a sci-fi setting.
Do we think there's going to be a lot of space combat and space vehicle jumping from planet to planet?
No, I think they've said in the blog post that she gets stranded on a planet, and the goal is to get off that planet. So,
Returnal 2.
So I'd say that
is
whole...
literally what came to my imagine it's
No, there won't be time
generated.
loops, I don't think. Surely.
Yeah. So that trailer would all be scene setting for before she gets stranded and stuff like that. But then I wonder how that all ties into her nature as a bounty hunter and the people she's after, because
well, that's if there's no one on the planet.
Yeah, they've clearly cast known actors as these people that she's going after, like Kumail Nanjiani and Tony Dalton. So I mean, there's good actors there. So I mean,
I think the idea is everyone gets stuck there, right?
Possibly.
Maybe there's something pulling people there. And
yeah, there's her handler or whatever is saying, kind of warning her that people get stuck there.
She was
no one
cool.
ever
The
comes
handler
back.
was so
The
cool.
eye patch.
With the,
Yeah,
like,
the eye patch.
That's all I need.
Yeah.
A woman. Eye patch.
Like, there's already some interesting sort of things. Like, this is a little bit of a concern of mine because there's that shot of like all the newspaper clippings on the wall, right? You can already tell how much I've been picking this apart. And it references the 5 aces a bunch, and there's like a photograph of 5 people in the middle. And when you see like her bounty on the screen, there's like a mention of the 5 aces as well. And so I kind of hope it's not. I'm worried that there's like a personal attachment to it, and there's a bit of a revenge element to it. And I sort of feel like we've done the whole revenge story from like within Naughty Dog's games that I kind of don't. I want to see them go a different route. I don't want it to be a story about revenge and kind of pack and like touch onto those themes again. But we'll see.
I feel like with how Neil has spoken about like The Last of Us and not wanting to cover the same theme and like only doing a game if he has like a unique theme in mind.
Yeah.
But it's so hard because then it's like it's always going to be compared to The Last of Us, and like you have to make sure it's really hard hitting, because if it doesn't have that same emotional impact, like you just it's never going to hit in the same way. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds and what they do with it.
The other point I wanted to make about the trailer too is I thought it was very clever to go from the studio that brought you Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, The Last of Us. Like, it was kind of a reminder. It's like, hey, actually, as a studio, we've made some really different games. Like, they're quite unique in each of their own ways. And so I think that's a useful point to like reinforce. It's like,
not only that, I don't
to do something different.
Know if a lot of like regular people know Naughty Dog, like what Naughty Dog is. Like even with that logo there, like you look at this and you would never know that it's attached to The Last of Us, which is a lot of people would only know Naughty Dog for. So I do think they need to really push that. Like, hey, we made all of these games that you would know of, and this is our new IP. Because I think even though this is Sony first party, it's still just not going to be an immediate win. Even if it's a 10, and we've spoken so many times on this podcast. Yeah,
name on the
it's
box.
Totally new. Exactly. New everything.
I don't love the title as well.
I love the title.
Oh, do you?
So good. It's so good. There's like so much there.
It's
to
just
unpack,
long.
I think
it's long.
Well, people will shorthand it clearly to Intergalactic.
You can just call it Intergalactic and leave it at that. If you don't want all the...
It feels...
I just think of the Beastie Boys track every time. Yeah. I don't know. But I guess my tone will change. We'll see. Cool. Any other announcements that we wanted to touch off? Or does that about kind of cover everything? Has anything else come to anyone's mind?
I think the Pac-Man thing is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
I was like not expecting that at all. It's kind of cool how they kind of the secret level episode of it was a prequel to this. So like, it was just one of those things where like you're watching it, you just can't really believe that this is where we're at for Pac-Man. Like he's just like this little like familiar 4-year character in this action game. So I think that looks really, really cool. I would encourage people to go watch the trailer for that.
Yeah. Similarly, I think we spoke about it, James. Like, I don't think they're like Pac-Manning it up enough in the title and like the art and stuff. I feel like if you didn't know it was Pac-Man, you wouldn't, and like just caught a passing glance, you probably wouldn't know. So I hope they've got some cool marketing stuff.
I think the title, like, see, now that's a title that like is crap, like Shadow Labyrinth. Like, what does that?
Well, just
mean?
like, but even like
that,
a Pac-Man event, like something that needs Pac-Man,
a Pac-Man,
or like
call it
like
Pac Labyrinth.
Yeah, I agree. It's very generic for something that's like uses one of the most iconic brands in gaming history. Very cool concept.
Did anybody vibe Outer Worlds at all?
Yeah.
Yes, I thought it was a good trailer for sure. I haven't played
I thought it was
first
funny.
Outer Wilds.
I like their sense of humor. Yeah.
But I forget, like the Outer Worlds is quite a big game, right? Like it's quite
no, not really.
No, it's not at all.
Oh, is it not?
Not comparatively speaking. Like it's more truncated than say Fallout or Skyrim. Like it's like a 12 hour game.
It's like a 30 to 40 hours to 100% it almost.
Yeah,
like it's
but like story is like
feels
12,
small.
15 probably.
Yeah.
Then it probably does more for me than I thought.
And like Avowed is going to be similar in scope to that as well.
Yeah.
So they've got 2 games coming out next
also
year.
thought...
That's crazy.
Yeah, they do. Big one. I thought Project Sentry looked quite good too. Similar to Mafia, where like these open world games are kind of taking things to settings we haven't really seen before. So early 1900s Japan, I think, is a really cool thing. And then there was one more thing that I thought was really cool, but I'm about... the Sonic racing game doesn't really make sense to me, but I thought... Like,
What, because he goes fast enough? Like, why is he getting behind
I
the wheel
know,
of
yeah,
a car?
I know this is like the third Sonic racing game or fourth Sonic racing game, but why do they don't need cars? The whole conceit is that they can run faster than like already.
It's like the Flash driving a Honda Accord.
Yeah,
why bother?
like they just put such... Yeah, a bit odd. But yeah, I think overall pretty good when you cut out all the shit that I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
Which, like, you could say that about every show, but this one especially, there's less shit to cut, I would say.
James, we've got to get you out of here pretty soon, and I want to get to Helldivers 2 and the new update that's come to there as well. So let's just do a quick rapid-fire question before we go to What the Wiki and wrap up the show. We've obviously covered a bunch of games that all look great and are all in the near and distant future, but at the Game Awards, Grand Theft Auto 6 was awarded Most Anticipated Game. What is your most anticipated game right now, is my rapid-fire question for each of you. Shannon, let's kick off with you.
There's a lot. I still think it is, and I know it's a very boring answer, but Grand Theft Auto 6. I just feel like there's nothing in the scope of that for me in terms of like wanting to see what it is and how it plays. And I'm speaking like half from me and half from, I guess, my job at Press Start, and I just feel like there's nothing that's going to have the pull of that game. And Intergalactic, I guess, as well. But yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 is the one I'm most keen to know what's happening with. And anything Nintendo's doing around the Switch 2. And the Switch 2 inclusive as well.
It's a lot. Yeah, Intergalactic is the obvious answer for me as well. But in the more immediate future, Doom the Dark Ages, I'm still itching for as well. James, what about yourself?
I'm just going to say Death Stranding 2 still, because I find it so intriguing, especially playing the first one again.
Yeah, I want to revisit the first before that game comes out. There's too many games
I just feel
like
that's
it's hard.
I just feel like that's closer than any other game that I can talk about. Do you know what I mean? So that's my immediate excitement.
It's keeping to the theme of the Game Awards nominees for sure. Brody?
Mine would probably also be Death Stranding 2. Probably also because I am playing the first again. But yeah, look, Intergalactic looked really good, didn't it? So yeah, Judas as well. Like I'm hot for Judas. So Bioshock if it ever comes out or materializes ever.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Next year's
maybe in the Game
crazy,
Awards next year.
Fable next year? Shit.
Yeah, it's stacked. It's stacked. All right. What the Wiki is the Press Start podcast game show where the previous week's winner is part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and we, the contestants, must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess, and the round ends after one person bags themselves 2 points. Last week, that was Brody, who was in the hosting chair today. You were up into 4th place, Brody, on 29 points. Just ahead is Shannon on 31. Yeah, we're just you narrowed it though. You're much closer to Shannon than you are.
Are we
now.
doing half points today?
Good. Are you doing half points today? No. I'm not advocating for half points. Just skew the games my way. I'm in 2nd place on 38 points. James is in the lead on 41. But Brody, the hosting chair is yours. Take it away.
Alrighty. The game is primarily a platform game and allows players to use their own solutions for getting through the levels. The game features a morality system similar to games like Infamous, Spider-Man Web of Shadows, and Shadow the Hedgehog. Different alliances, side quests, and power-ups are made available depending on the choices of the player. The game's key features are a magic paintbrush, which the character wields, that has the ability to draw or erase objects using paint or thinner. For example, obstacles can be erased from physical existence with thinner and then restored with paint.
I'm taking a wild guess here. Is it Concrete Genie?
It's not Concrete Genie. Or could be completely destroyed using the thinner. Oh, sorry, I just jumped around there. The game was part of an effort by Blank to rebrand Blank as a character by placing less emphasis on... Shannon.
No, I don't know. No, Epic Mickey.
It is Epic Mickey.
Oh, well done, Shannon.
Well done. I think James might have just cottoned on
in that answer.
James might have just cottoned onto the theme, possibly. Like he's giving a knowing nod.
I'm just annoyed at myself. That's all.
Yeah, I thought if it was that, Jumsy would have got it, but here we are.
Okay.
Bit early in WA.
The game was developed by a small team of developers in Sweden, led by film director Joseph Fares. Both Fares and several members of his team
James.
previous... Did someone say something?
Got it. Yeah, James.
I did. I'm just gonna go. It Takes Two.
It's not It Takes Two.
Ewan.
Shannon.
I'm
Oh,
killing myself.
I think Ewan queued up first.
Is it a way out?
It is A Way Out. Well done.
What
Ewan, I
result?
could have had 6 points.
Thank you for reminding me the name of the game earlier in the show.
Yeah, I was like, "Whoop." Alrighty. Oh, geez, there's not much to read here. Okay. In the game, the player controls characters from the series, all of which race in customizable dune buggy vehicles. The two main modes of... Ewan.
Is this Jack X?
It is Jack X. Well done.
Let's
Ewan.
go!
So all those teams obviously announced new games, or people. Warren Spector, he's got a new game coming out. So, yeah, and the last one would have been The Witcher 1. So well done, Ewan.
Cool.
Nice, good theme. Well done, Shannon. Just
Huge.
made sure there was no points for James there. Only 1 point behind him in first place now.
Now you got to read next week, so he'll be like 4 in front next week.
Yeah, yeah. Expect all the Brody and Shannon games.
Let's just devolve.
With that, let's bring an end to what was this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us on Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at press.au and visit the site at pressstart.com.au. We've been joined today by Shannon.
Yeah, you can follow me at Shannon Grixty on everything.
We also had, in the early hours of the morning, James.
Yeah, I'm on X at James ATJMZ.
And last but not least, in the hosting chair, What the Wiki today, it was Brody.
Thank you. You can follow me on most things at Brody_DG.
And I've been your host, Ewan. You can follow me on socials at Ewan_Roxburgh. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, happy gaming.
Keep it classy. I mean...
Adventure calls as Indiana Jones travel the world and discover ancient secrets. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is out now on Xbox Series X and S, Game Pass, and PC. Rated M.